Hi, everybody. It's CC and JT from the CC and JT Amateur Hour. Somewhere over the screen is CC. Hi, CC.
Hello.
What we're doing here, though, is we've put on our hats for the Nevada Author Network, which is a partnership between the Sierra Arts Foundation and Two More Books LLC to raise the visibility of writers who are a member of the Sierra Arts literary community. Now, if you've been following this podcast for a while, and we've done several successful podcasts, which we're very happy about, you will usually see three people. Today, you see two. Why? Because CC has a book coming out. And in accordance with the mission of the Nevada Author Network, we're highlighting CC and we're highlighting her brand new book. So we're going to pretend like this is a real podcast. Hi, CC.
Hi, JT. Nice to be here.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Now, for full disclosure, we must admit right up front that you and I have, an outside relationship outside the Nevada Author Network through marriage.
Yeah, for 1 or 2 years or 43. I don't
Yeah,
know.
1, 2, 43, something like that. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're not here to talk about the wonderful journey of our marriage. We're here to talk about your book. So let's talk about your book. What is your book, Cece? What is coming out?
So, my book is a paranormal romance with later in life characters. The main character romantic couple is in their 50s, and the book is called Passion Restored. It is the first of a multi-book series, maybe 6, maybe more at this point. I'm not entirely sure because there are a lot of fun side characters. And the Restless Spirits series is related to both the fact that there are spirits involved in the story, but is also a TV show in the background called Restless Spirits. So there's a lot going on here. There's a home renovation. There are paranormal researchers going about doing their research. And the main character, Angela Moran, spends some time helping these paranormal researchers because she's friends with them. Nicholas Sampson is the one who comes into the equation. He's an out-of-towner that comes to Virginia City. He's renovating a house, so there's also the renovation backstory going on because he's being highlighted on a TV show. So there's a lot of different things for different people. If you're interested in home renovation, if you're interested in the paranormal, if you're interested in the Old West. So I hope you'll check out Passion Restored.
And I think people should check out Passion Restored, people by the millions. But again, I might be a little bit biased.
Just biased.
Just a little bit biased. But let's talk about the journey of the book. You said this book has been in the creation process for a while, and I've only been privileged to see a small part of this creation process. Tell us about what's been going on with this book, how long this book has been going on.
So I wrote the first iteration of this book 10 years ago, back in 2015. Both JT and I were still working full-time then, and it was something I may have done as a November project. I don't remember for sure. But that story was called Rapture Eternal, and it dealt with the 1875 time period that became the backstory of what is now Passion Restored. So that book, with work and everything else, it was on the back burner for many, many years. I'd originally hoped to release it at that time, and I'm not even sure what happened. I just never got around to completing the process. So when I retired last year, was looking at projects to start working on. There is another book, which will be book 3 of this series, that I have completed. It's going to need revisions, but it was something that led me into the whole idea of the Restless Spirits universe. And when I went back and looked at Rapture Eternal, I thought that it had potential, but it didn't fit with the direction I was going to go. So that's why it became the backstory for the book that it eventually turned out to be. So there was a lot that happened in that 10-year period. For example, there was a fan convention that I went to that gave me the idea for the 3rd book in the series. It definitely was a long, drawn-out process, and a lot of different things came into play, and I'm really happy where it's ended up. I'm hoping that this will be a fun series for people to enjoy for the next few years as they're coming out.
Now, one of the aspects of these podcasts is we talk about the technical parts of the creation process, the creative process, because we are artists. So we take an idea and creatively and logically develop it to the end product. And the end product, which I think you have, is very interesting, especially the interior. So why don't you talk about something which I don't think I've ever seen before inside a book?
So what I've done, as I mentioned, Angela Moran is a paranormal researcher. She does a lot of side research for her friends, and she uses her computer, but she goes to places like Chronicling America, which is a site by the Library of Congress that anybody can research on. It's a free site, and it is a place where historic newspapers have been uploaded from various states all across the U.S. for various time periods. When I was working at the Nevada State Archives, I was involved in helping to provide the images that would go up on there. That was part of one of my duties. And so I'm very familiar with the site. And I thought that using this site to help Angela with her research would be great. So what I did was I actually researched the Virginia City area in 1875, which is where the backstory takes place. These are newspaper clippings that were taken from Chronicling America. And then I had spoken with another author who did a nonfiction book, and she has QR codes because her book relates to various locations. But what I did is made the QR code that links back to the article. It gives you the entire page. So some of these articles are just snippets of a full article. You could read the full article, or you can read whatever is around it and see all the kinds of fun advertising they had at the time too. So for the physical book, you have the QR code, but for the ebook, the text up here is actually a hyperlink that will also take you to the Chronicling America page for the article. So I thought it was a lot of fun, and it was a challenge to get this in here because previously for all of JT's books, we had just done the text, and learning how to insert the images and making sure they were appropriately aligned and everything was a bit of a challenge. But it was a fun learning experience, and I'm hoping readers don't have to go to the newspapers to see, to help understand the story. It's just basically extra information, and I'm hoping it adds a little bit more background for both Angela as a researcher, but also for the Virginia City area in the 1875 time period.
And so go hold on. And the other technical aspect, writers always struggle with the cover. So here's the cover. Eye-catching. You've already started to receive compliments on this cover, even though, as people can see, the proof band from Amazon is across the front of it. But even so, people have noticed this cover. But there's something interesting about this particular cover itself. And what is that?
So the cover, obviously, as most covers do, has a lot of stock images like the silhouettes of the characters and everything. But this portion here is actually a photo that I took in Virginia City back in January when JT and I went up there to do a little research for this book. And it was an early morning, so I actually stood in the middle of C Street and, no traffic because in the winter it's quiet up there, especially early. And I was able to get a nice shot of Virginia City. So this is C Street, which is a north-south street. And obviously, being a north-south street, the orientation is wrong for this sunrise or sunset, whichever you choose to call it. But it is a good representation of what modern Virginia City looks like. So I thought that was pretty cool that the designer actually included that in the cover design.
And it turned out really, really well. The other technical aspect that all writers deal with, you and me also, is the introduction of artificial intelligence into our industry. It is a controversial subject to say the least. And it touched you directly through no action of yourself. And can you tell us what happened when you started working with your cover and how AI became a part of that?
So based on recommendations from JT, who has used designs quite a bit, I decided to do a cover contest as well and went through the first round where you set up your contest, you tell the designers or the potential designers what you hope to have, and Nine Designs does have an option where you can check a box that says you do or you do not want AI included in your image, the use of AI in creating your image. So I checked that I did not want AI used in my image. And I got some decent covers. There was one that I really liked that had a couple, and unlike the end result, that couple, you could see their facial features and everything, and it looked quite a bit like JT and I. So I think both JT and I were drawn to that cover. It was a much darker color. I do think the final product ended up being much more striking. But I had, and that round did not include this cover, obviously, and The one that I chose as the winner of that round, it turned out that AI had been used in the generation of the images. And I think, though I never confirmed it, it was something where the designer took an image of JT and I and aged it up a little bit to make us look older. And so 99 Designs was very good. They called me and said that there was a problem with my cover and they needed to talk to me about it. And we discussed the fact that AI had been used and they wanted to know what I wanted to do. So they allowed me to basically negate the results of that competition. The artist was not awarded the money for the cover design because they did not pay attention to the agreement where they said they would not use AI in the generation of the image. And it was a frustrating, the whole situation was frustrating. I felt very good, though, that 99 Designs was so proactive about it. And they allowed me to reopen my competition, gave me my money back. And I ended up with what I think ended up being actually a much more striking cover in the end. So was frustrated with the whole idea of AI, and it's so insidious that it's so hard to tell sometimes. But I should have listened to my intuition that maybe somebody had done something to an image of JT and I to make it stand out more on the cover, and maybe they were hoping that that would attract our interest. But I learned my lesson, and like I said, I think I ended up with a much better cover in the end.
And the subject of AI is a whole different podcast, which actually we've done on our regular podcast. It's not for this place, so let us segue into. Tell us about any other works that you've done that that once readers go through Passion Restored, what should they go to next?
Well, if you're in the mood for more romance, JT and I wrote one together,
Oh, right, that
surprisingly.
one. Yep.
This one has a fun story behind it because JT and I had gone to see The Lost City, the movie with Sandra Bullock, Channing Tatum, and Daniel Radcliffe, and very similar to Romancing the Stone, the classic movie with Kathleen Turner and Michael Douglas. The main character is an author who ends up going off on adventures. The idea of us being authors, playing around with that. The characters in this book don't end up being authors, but we decided to try to play around with some fun tropes and adventure ideas. And we came up with kind of just the general idea of what Tundra to Tiara would be. The Alaskan tundra, the fact that there's a reluctant royal, sled dog racing and things like that. We had the idea, we sat down, I wrote the first chapter from Lexi's point of view. And then JT came back and responded from Travis's point of view. And I thought it worked out really well because we were basically writing back and forth to each other instead of writing to an outline. So I thought it was a very dynamic process. I didn't feel like we suffered through that messy middle where you feel bogged down in the story because there was always something new to discover based on, we didn't know what we were going to write back and forth to each other because we were writing what the characters were responding to. So I think this was a really fun process. I do think this book should get more love than it has so far. We jokingly said that when the book first came out, I think it was 2022, saying, hey, Hallmark Channel, we hope you'll pick this one up because, you've got ex-military trope, you've got the reluctant royal trope, and cute dogs. That's one of the other books that I currently have available that you can check out.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So a lot of fun, a lot of creativity, a lot of energy, and a lot of challenges. The challenges that you had to really overcome. So let's wrap this up by how do we find CC on the information superhighway?
The easiest way to find me is to go to www.carsonhume.com, which is our main page. You will find a link to our bookshop where all of our books are available, including these two. The page also gives links to our various social media platforms. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, all the places, YouTube, obviously, and that's probably one of the best places. You can also check out twomorebooks.com, which is where we post these Nevada Author Network interviews. But usually carsonhume.com is the best place to start looking for us.
Excellent. So We want to thank, we as in CC, want to thank CC for being on the Nevada. Hello, thank you. Well, I want to thank for being on the Nevada Author Network, which is again a collaboration between the Sierra Arts Foundation, the Sierra Arts Literary Community, and Two More Books LLC, whose mission is to highlight and elevate the writers, artists of the Sierra Arts Literary Community. CC, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Okay, yeah. Everybody take care. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.